At 24 years old, Brooklyn Elizabeth decided she wanted to make a bold statement and show the world her confidence. She decided to get a tattoo that would start at the bottom of her neck and extend to the top of her jawline. Brooklyn hoped that the ink would help cover up her double chin and give her a more defined look.
It's really interesting to me how a vast number of people will use all sorts of creativity to cover up their problems, yet do nothing to actually solve those problems. They will deny a problem exists, they will get angry when people point it out, and if they get really crazy with it, they will censor and bully anyone who pushes the issue, while at the same time pretending to be the victim. All this focus goes into not solving the problem, when the ironic thing is that doing the work to actually fix your situation is like a tenth of the effort and the stress it takes to cover it up. Now, in case you didn't catch it, that clip I just showed is from a Snapchat series called What's Tat, and it said that a girl was going to display confidence by covering up a part of her body that she's insecure about. What? Well, this certainly was some outside-of-the-box thinking. Let's see how it worked.
Brooklyn had thought that getting a tattoo on her neck would help her to hide her double chin, but unfortunately, it didn't have the desired effect. She had hoped it would help to camouflage her chin, but it didn't make a difference. Despite her efforts, she was still left with a noticeable double chin.
What's weird to me is that she publicly announced her hope that this would cover up her double chin and opened herself up to ridicule when all she had to do to see that this wouldn't work was spend a few bucks on one of those neck gaiter things. After the Snapchat video and this Sun article came out, Brooklyn released a response where she doesn't appear to understand the term fair use or the irony of her complaining that a picture of her daughter was used in the Snapchat video when she frequently uses her daughter for views in her most popular videos. Stop using your child for content if you don't want that to happen. But during this response, she denounced the Snapchat video because she got backlash for thinking that a tattoo would make her look thin as long as the camera is framed above her shoulders. Though outside of the criticism that she got from viewers, I'm not sure why she had so much vitriol for the Snapchat video, as it was fully in support of her and tried to cover up for her bad take.
Through her TikTok account, Brooklyn Elizabeth revealed her new neck tattoo to the world. The ink was quite striking and certainly made a statement. It didn't seem to bother Brooklyn in the slightest that the tattoo didn't cover her double chin, as she seemed to love the design and the way it looked regardless.
What are you talking about? She clearly does care. Even though it wasn't the sole purpose of the tattoo, based on her tone of voice here, she is disappointed that it didn't have the full desired effect. Let's do a quick listen to just that part. I can't play the full context because she's playing copyrighted music in the background.
I just thought it'd be kind of like an extra perk.
Why not just be honest about your situation and how you actually feel? If you keep playing off dumb mistakes that you made as a non-issue, then you're just going to keep making them. Now, despite the nuance of Brooklyn's situation, apparently the Snapchat video insists that this whole neck tattoo thing is a trend now? I'd never heard of it, but okay.
Like Brooklyn, more and more people want to hide their double chin with elaborate tattoos. One person commented, "This is the main reason I'm getting a neck tattoo," and another said, "OMG yes. I did this exact same thing, and now my double chin looks cool." Many people were captivated by the idea and were amazed at how unique and cool it was.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I feel like they're trying to convince us that this is cool, like that Billy Madison scene where he tries to convince everyone that peeing in your pants is cool.
Hey, look everybody, Billy peed his pants.
Of course I peed my pants. Everybody my age pees their pants. It's the coolest.
I have a hard time believing that a significant number of people unironically think that blinging your double chin with a tattoo is actually cool. Most people are probably going to say the obvious thing, which is, just lose the weight. Outside of that, I've recently had the strong suspicion that the fat acceptance movement is just a way to gaslight people into ignoring how unhealthy junk food is, because legal drugs like processed sugar and processed seed oils are incredibly profitable. Now, the fat acceptance people love to point out that the fitness industry is worth billions of dollars.
The fitness industry in the US alone is worth $30 billion, and annually over $600 million is spent on advertising the ideal body, which is always thin.
Yeah, and do you know how much money companies like Coke and Pepsi would lose if people ate healthy? I imagine that it's more than $30 billion. Which brings us to this TikTok channel here. This guy has been making excellent videos on a topic called the illusion of choice, which means roughly that when you go to the store, while it may look like you have all these different brands to choose from, if you do some research, you actually only have like 5 brands to choose from, to which a large percentage of are owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. Here's an explanation on how just a few companies own almost all the cereal.
If you had to guess, how many brands do you think are actually in the cereal aisle?
So in the cereal aisle, we got General Mills is red, Kellogg is blue, purple is Post, and orange is PepsiCo. Who do you think are the biggest stakeholders of those companies?
That's right, baby. It is BlackRock and Vanguard at the top of all of those lists, with the exception of the Kellogg Foundation, which was set up a long time ago with a bunch of the shares of the founders.
The pro-ESG score corporations BlackRock and Vanguard have investments in so many companies that I believe it's effectively impossible to not support them. For example, they make up 2 of the top 5 stakeholders in Target. Have you been into the clothing section at Target recently? It's full of body positivity type branding, and it's been like that for years. Coincidence? What about Calvin Klein? They're owned by PVH Corp. Oh look, BlackRock and Vanguard right at the top. Victoria's Secret? Guess who? BlackRock and Vanguard. Coincidence? Is it a coincidence that Dove promotes body positivity and the company that owns them also owns Ben & Jerry's ice cream? Of course these companies want to gaslight you about this stuff. Not to mention that all these companies basically bank on the fact that you won't learn anything about cooking so that you can do things like replace a 140-calorie can of Sprite with 0-calorie carbonated water and a slice of lime, or do that with like an orange or strawberries. Do you know how many people get fat solely from drinking soda? You don't need these super sugary drinks to have something with good flavor. In fact, if you get off the processed sugar for a few weeks, you'll find that the taste of high amounts of sugar is overbearing, and you'll prefer drinks without it. To finish up this rant here, though, there's a whole rabbit hole to go down of how sugar, oil, and salt are used to sell you either low-quality ingredients or stuff that was harvested before it was ripe because that's cheaper. You can try this experiment yourself with an easy recipe like strawberry ice cream. It literally does not matter if you use perfectly red and juicy strawberries or crappy flavorless strawberries. Add a cup of sugar to it and it all tastes the same. So when you see that big brands are adding a ton of salt, sugar, and oil to your food, it's probably so they can use low-quality ingredients. Check the ingredients labels on your food. Alright, back to this very predictable Snapchat video that was obviously written by artificial intelligence and not an actual person.
Quite a few people reacted strongly to Brooklyn Elizabeth's recent neck tattoo. While many were excited to see the creative art and thought it was a bold statement, other internet users were not as impressed. These people argued that placing a tattoo on the neck would draw more attention to the double chin, and some even posted negative comments about the tattoo.
Seriously, these videos are more formulaic than modern superhero movies. The woke types are making sure nothing new gets added to the meta. Everything will be, I did a weird and unconventional thing that I knew would receive criticism, and I got criticism. I'm such a victim. Even to the extent where they'll associate constructive criticism with rude hate comments by putting them in the same categories. The video said, some say the tattoo was a bold statement. Others bring up a valid criticism about it having the opposite effect by bringing more attention to the area. And here's a hate comment that's not even about the tattoo to make people with valid criticism look bad. Seriously, this is why I said AI wrote this. Yeah, it's a rude comment, but it's about stretch marks, not a tattoo. There are several weird contextual mistakes like that in this video. Whether or not this was written by a human, it still basically uses the same tactics that the woke types like to use to silence people or make them feel bad about having objections to their unhealthy lifestyle. Which brings us to the second character in this story.
In February 2023, another TikTok user took to social media.
Another TikTok user. Okay, this was definitely voiced by AI. Go on.
Another TikTok user took to social media to express the hate she received regarding her tattoos. Despite her attempts to promote body positivity, she faced immense criticism for the placement of her tattoos.
Pay attention to the language and look at the associations. They started the segment with, the hate she receives, and then changed the language to, immense criticism. Criticism and hate aren't the same thing, yet the radical leftists love to throw them in the same box, and it's the second time it's been done in this video. Oftentimes, the people who are brave enough to voice criticism will do so because they actually care about you. People aren't only criticizing because they don't like you. Then the AI that wrote this said, see how she did a good thing by promoting body positivity? The fat activists keep doing this crap where they mix personal choices in with stuff that is out of your control. When I think about body positivity, I think of someone who lost their arm in an unfortunate accident, not someone who people are criticizing because she got a bad tattoo. I also think she did a bad job with her makeup. Are you going to say it's hate speech to point out that she isn't good at something as well? Honestly, I think it's an insult to those with real disabilities, for obese people who chose to be that way, to completely consume a movement that was originally supposed to be about people suffering from handicaps or unfortunate genetic conditions.
She was shocked and hurt by the negative comments and felt that they were rooted in a lack of understanding of her choices. As she spoke out about her throat tattoo, she blamed her weight entirely for the hatred she received.
So for this one, let me go to her TikTok to express how ridiculous this is.
Let's talk about my most controversial tattoos. First up is going to be my throat tattoo. I by far get the most hate comments about my throat tattoo because I'm fat. I'm pretty sure, not pretty sure, I'm 100% sure it's because I'm fat and I have a short neck and a fat face. So before I got my throat tattooed, I literally received 0 comments about my double chin or my fat face or my fat neck or whatever. I never got comments about it, ever. And after I got it tattooed, that's like the #1 hate comment that I get.
Okay, so then wouldn't that be evidence that it's more about the placement of the tattoo and not your weight? Again, what I don't like is the association of virtuousness of people who have made choices that make them look a certain way with people who look a certain way because they were born like that or because of unfortunate circumstances. Being fat is a choice. Those ear loops you have are a choice. Tattoos are a choice. Makeup is a choice. If we can't criticize people for choices that they've made, then what can we criticize? That being said, later in the video, the AI that's in support of her pulls up data that argues against her idea that people are only criticizing her because of her weight.
According to a recent poll by the US Sun, an overwhelming majority of the respondents, 74%, stated they would not get a neck tattoo.
It's like I'm battling a terrible AI on stage 1 of an FPS game. It's unfair. Well, to be fair to me, a human did program it, told it to write the article, and hopefully watched and approved of it before it was uploaded. Honestly though, imagine graduating school and being so bad at writing that this replaces you. And it has 140,000 subscribers. Anyway, based on data that I'm just going to assume is true because my opponent brought it up and it agrees with my bias, I doubt the primary reason people criticize this creator's tattoo is because of her weight. I think that most people simply don't like how face and neck tattoos look. And I think this person knows that because she made 2 separate videos about her most controversial tattoos, and all of them were on her face and neck. What a coincidence. They are probably also criticizing her because she said stuff like this.
Because I have no desire to lose weight. I'm happy, I'm healthy. And to answer your question, I don't pay for a gym membership because I don't fucking like working out.
Clearly, you do have the desire to lose weight, but you can't, so you're coping by saying that you don't want to. There were heavy amounts of, "you can't fire me because I quit," in that statement. If you didn't think your weight was an issue and you weren't insecure about it, then why did you say that people were only criticizing you because of your weight? There are plenty of things to criticize, but you chose that to focus on. Anyway,
the user addressed her critics, emphasizing that her tattoos were part of her body and story. She argued that it was not up to others to judge or dictate what she could or could not do with her body. Her post resonated with many and shone a spotlight on the importance of respecting people's choices and encouraging positive body image.
Everyone has the right to judge you for whatever they want. That's called free speech, and suggesting that it's a thought crime for people to criticize you for making bad choices is the excuse the radical left constantly uses to justify them bullying people. Obviously, they don't care about judgment because they judge people all the time. They just don't want you judging them. And I'm not simply talking about stuff that results from the choices that you make. They will straight up judge you as evil and attribute all sorts of negative characteristics to you because you happen to be born white. So don't give me this "we don't judge" crap. Everybody judges, especially the people who constantly virtue signal about not judging. They're always the most judgmental.
Getting a tattoo can be an incredibly meaningful and personal experience. Unfortunately, some people may be judged or even face hate for the placement of their tattoos. These comments can be extremely disheartening, especially if the tattoo is meaningful to the wearer. Everyone has the right to express themselves however they want.
Now, I understand that this is an AI, but it's still repeating woke talking points, so we're going to address it as if it's a member of that ideology. Clearly, woke people do not want people expressing themselves how they please. What they want is people to be accepting of their degeneracy, like people being okay with them shoving 30 hamburgers down their throat every day. They don't want you to be able to express yourself how you please, and I know that because half of this video is about shutting their critics up by associating them with hate. Criticism is an expression of yourself. Now tell me, why does the party who always talks about how great expression is have a whole list of words that you aren't allowed to say? they keep crossing more and more words off that list, and they aren't doing it to help people because they will outwardly use words like Latinx, to which Latinos are very vocal about considering that word a slur. The actual reason they are coming up with words that you can no longer say is so they can silence people. And recently, they've been taking a number of words that basically everyone has said and have been saying, if we catch you saying this word that it was okay to say 5 minutes ago, we'll take away your entire income. I think this video by Turkey Tom on a creator who goes by Blair or Illuminati gives a perfect example of what abusers do in this kind of culture, as he talks about how she used ridiculous means to get back at a former coworker who she didn't like.
Blair claimed that she could never be friends with someone who used the R slur in video games. However, the click points out that despite her messaging others about how problematic it was, she continued to hang out with him regardless. Blair then began enlisting people to dig through 10-year-old Let's Plays to find dirt on him. Again, here's the video still up with the R slur at 340-ish. Keep in mind, this was 2010, when the click was in high school and didn't have any kind of audience. She talked with glee about the day when the public would eventually become aware of his past slur usage and cancel him. Blair was also paying people hundreds of dollars to sift through material to find compromising clips of the click. Blair spending more money than most people spend on groceries to expose some Swedish dude for saying the R word. As for why, it seems like it was either out of jealousy that his own channel was taking off or out of spite that he left the collab channel due to her behavior and no longer wanted to be her buddy.
And that's why giving people the ability to ruin a person's entire livelihood because they said a word you find offensive is a bad idea. It's going to be used by abusers to silence people or get revenge on someone they don't like, and the woke types do this all the time. I remember making a video on Lacey Green where she committed the crime of trying to make friends with her opponents, and people on her own side looked back into tweets that were like 10 years old to find her saying a word that everyone used to use at the time, but was recently crossed off the list. And they did that so they could cancel her. This is bullying. All this express yourself how you want and don't judge people is an excuse for them to bully people into submission. Here's how ridiculous this is. Now, some of you might have already seen this because I showed it in a video years ago, but it's related and it definitely bears repeating. This is a news clip where an angry mom cancels the R word.
Someone once said a word can strike deeper than a sword, and that's something one little girl knew all too well. She'd been stung by one particular word all her life, but instead of giving in to her pain, she took action.
Correction, her parents took action.
Nina and Paul have 4 children. Their youngest, Rosa, just 9 years old, has Down syndrome. We all heard it first on the playground. Sticks and stones may break my bones. Words will never hurt me.
It's not true that words won't hurt you. You can't call someone something and treat them in a different way.
Wait, so is it the words that hurt or the treatment? I'm confused. Anyway, they teamed up with the senator to lobby for legislation in a very anti-First Amendment campaign that banned the word and replaced it with intellectual disability in federal documents. This was over 10 years ago. Except there was one major problem. They said this word stung their daughter and hurt her deeply, but when they asked Rosa what the word meant, she had no idea.
Why don't we like retarded, Rosa? Not nice.
Not nice.
So really, this isn't about your daughter, and the disgusting thing is that their actions are essentially saying that they are embarrassed by their own child, and their correction for that is to censor the scientific definition of her condition in places like federal documents or school textbooks where it's not being used to insult anyone. The word intellectual disability can mean a lot of things, and it's not descriptive of what condition you might be dealing with, so if you're a teacher or a doctor, you are always going to have to use more specific language that will then be deemed offensive by Karens. And these people also openly said that they will continue to censor words when that happens.
Retarded was first seen as a sensitive alternative, but it too became an insult.
I'm not sure we'll ever need to change the language again, but in 30 years, if we have to change it, Rose will be the one that does it then.
Yeah, so you guys are complete bullies. You don't actually care about your daughter. You are just looking for a way to silence people because her condition makes you uncomfortable. Clearly, your daughter isn't offended by the word because she doesn't know what it means. It's so sad to watch this because she's being used for this censorship campaign, and she seems to have no awareness as to why she's a part of it. She's just repeating things her parents tell her to. Like I said at the beginning, it's crazy the extent people will go to cover up their problems instead of just dealing with them, even to the extent where they will cause harm to others to continue the cover-up. I mean, they already do that for a number of things. When is fat going to be the new R word or the new other F word? That's 3 different F words now, and no one is going to have any idea what's being talked about. How long is it before they start taking people's jobs away for using the word fat? Don't think they won't try. None of this fixes anything. It just shoves everything to the side, which over time will lead to more and more suffering. Just deal with your problems. Just lose the weight. Just work on your mental health. And just take criticism instead of cowering in fear every time someone doesn't 100% agree with everything you do. It's not as bad as you think, and when you do the work, your life will be way better. Anyway, thanks for watching. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.